Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli back with another review video, and that's right, of course, continuing on reviewing, the Marvel films, and now we're back to reviewing another X-Men film, and that's right. Now, I'm reviewing X-Men First Class. Yes. Man, I remember when this came out, and, me and my family, we did catch it in theaters, and, it's hard to believe, because, well, before this, the last X-Men film that we got was, as we all know, Marvel and Fox's attempt on doing something new with the X-Men movie franchise, and that being to start the X-Men Origins. And we first got Wolverine, but they also had plans to, do one of Magneto and Cyclops, but X-Men Origins didn't go anywhere because, as we all know, the Wolverine film didn't do so good. It should have been the easiest film to make it really good, you know what I'm saying? And yet it turned out to be a disaster. Well, you've seen my review of Wolverine X-Men Origins. Go back and watch that. What I have to say on it. But it didn't take that long for Marvel and Fox. 2 years after the disappointing failure of Wolverine X-Men Origins, they would once again make something new in the X-Men movie franchise. Once again, this. I guess it's sort of an origin story, but really, this is how the X-Men began, how the First Class began, and how Charles Xavier brought in mutants together and taught them, and so on, and yeah, that's where, in this movie, that's where it all began, so yeah, and boy, this turned out to be really good, and it got the franchise back up on its feet. But anyways, so let's come to the story. So, in the early 1960s, during the height of the Cold War, a mutant named Charles Xavier, a young Charles Xavier that is, played by James McAvoy, meets a fellow mutant named Eric, played by, a young Eric, played by Michael Fassbender, if I'm saying his last name right. If I'm not, then I'm sorry. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, Charles grew up with a wealthy family while Eric lost his parents at Auschwitz, if I'm saying that right. The two become close friends. As the world teeters on the brink of a nuclear war, Charles and Eric, with other mutants, join forces to save humanity. However, a situation soon tears the friends apart. Yep. So, I mean, it's got a great cast, and it's got a good story to it, because, again, as I said, this is where the First Class began, and we want, the very first X-Men film that came out, in 2000, it did show Eric's backstory, and we do once again see it, but we see more of it. Of course, we all know, with him being separated from his parents and, using his powers to, grab the gates, and he's knocked out. However, he is brought in by the main villain of this film, Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon. I kind of feel as though people seem to forget that because of his appearance in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, people seem to forget that he did do something in the world of Marvel. He was in a Marvel movie, and he played a villain, and that being Sebastian Shaw, who was the one that killed Eric/Magneto's mother. Yeah, so Kevin Bacon got to play a Marvel villain, so that was really cool. So before he played himself in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, he once played a villain in a Marvel film, which being an X-Men film. So that's really cool. Kevin Bacon, what can you say about Kevin Bacon? Because he's Kevin Bacon. I mean, he's a great actor, and he plays good. He plays good playing he plays good playing evil. You get my point. And in this, yeah. And because even like Eric kind of established this at one point that, you know, he's Frankenstein's monster. Technically he kind of is, because it's like, you know, Sebastian was the master of Eric and Eric was his puppet. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. And thus Eric is seeking revenge to kill the man who turned into what he became, you know what I'm saying? Makes perfect sense. And also, like, yeah, we see a young Eric once again, like, you know, played by a young Bill Milner, if I'm saying that right, and a young Charles Xavier, and a young Mystique, that are played by Lawrence Blecher and Morgan Lilly. So, that's where, yeah, when young Charles Xavier met Mystique, when Mystique was disguised as Charles's mother, the question was, okay, when Charles finds out that, you know, that's not really his mother and it's Raven, what happened to Charles' mother? Like, they never establish it again, because, like, okay, Charles does look at a picture of his mother, like, you know, what have you done with my mother? And nothing is ever brought up again about his mother. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things, you know. Was she present in that giant mansion, you know? Probably still asleep? I don't know. I really don't know. But anyways. But the rest of the characters, like, okay, a young Professor X and Mystique, you know, they're a little bit older. James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence, I'm telling you, they were fantastic as these two characters, as a young Professor X and Mystique, and Michael Fassbender as Eric. He was fantastic too. Like, you know, they were the perfect choices to be the young Charles, Eric, and Mystique, you know. And the others, like, we get Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy / Beast, and this is before he would become Beast. Like, at first his mutant power is his feet. They're like hands. They can hold on to things. So then there was also, I think this was the one time we saw her in an X-Men film, Emma Frost, played by January Jones. Yeah. Now Emma Frost, like, she can turn into a crystal or something. Like, she, I guess she has she's a mind reader, or no, not that. You know, but that's all I can remember about Emma Frost. Like, you know, how she transforms, and, you know, it's pretty cool. And there was also Zoe Kravitz. You know, before Catwoman, before she was another, like, comic book movie adaptation, she was in one of Marvel. Like, before she went on to be Catwoman, she was in a Marvel film, which being X-Men, as Angel. Like, not Angel with the, like, angel wings, but a different, like mutant with wings, like, kind of like bug wings or whatever. And that's another thing, too, because, okay, we also get the appearance of Moira, played by a young Moira, that is. Now, Moira, like, she had a small appearance in X-Men Last Stand, and especially, like, the infamous end credits scene of Last Stand, where Charles Xavier comes back into somebody's body, because, you know, Charles Xavier in Last Stand showed a video tape sent in by Moira about a man who doesn't have a conscience, doesn't have a brain or something like that, and then Charles, his mind went into that body, so, you know. Yeah, I'm glad that we get more of Moira in this and the next Marvel X-Men films, I should say, that would come out. And Rose Byron, like, she was fantastic as Moira, and I feel like people seem to forget that she was in Star Wars. She was, like, Padme's attendant or something like that. I don't know, like she appeared, like, she was in, I think she was only in Attack of the Clones, so, some of the other, like, mutants that come in, like, there's Havoc, played by Lucas Till. Like, his mutant powers, like, he can, oh, no, wait a minute, yeah. I think, yeah, he has the same powers where he can, that Cyclops has, although it comes from his chest. And I didn't know this. His character, Lucas Till's character, Havoc, he's Cyclops' brother. I didn't really know about that until X-Men Apocalypse happened. So, yeah, and until I review that. Then there's also Banshee, played by Caleb Landry Jones, and, like, his power, like, he can, like, fly, but, like, say a flying squirrel would, like, spread your arms out, but he can also, like, shout, and it can, like, help him stay flying, that kind of stuff. And some of the, like, the evil mutants, and that are on Sebastian Shaw's side, like, there's Azazel, if I'm saying that right, who is like the same, like, mutant that Nightcrawler is. Although, like, his skin is red, and he does the same thing that Nightcrawler does, like, going from one place to the other, There was one person in the CIA that took in, like, the X-Men that helped them out, and I believe it was this guy, yeah. He was played by Oliver Platt. So he, like, helped the Charles Xavier and the rest of the mutants. And he even knew Hank, and Hank didn't reveal that he was a mutant until, with Charles, etc. And of course, like, Eric at one point, I kind of forget, because when I watched this movie, at first I thought, did Charles and Eric meet in a bar? But no, actually, because when Eric first, came face to face with Sebastian, he failed to try to kill him and so on, and even, like, say, like, the Air Force, like, and with Charles Xavier, like, they came in to attack Sebastian's boat, and Eric was trying to still go after Sebastian. Him and the rest of the evil mutants, they escaped in a submarine underwater, and, Eric trying to use his powers to grab a hold of the submarine, and, Charles, like, he had to go in and save Eric because he was going to drown. That's how they meet. So, and thus, like, that's how their friendship would begin. And especially I love that montage where they recruit a bunch of other mutants from Havoc, Banshee, but also, because even, like, Banshee was trying to impress a teenage girl played by Sasha Petrus. I don't think I'm saying her last name right, but she was in Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Pretty Little Liars. So, because, like, trying to impress her because of the fish in a tank, and, like, ooh, and just, like, the fish, like, scattering, still doesn't work on her. And I just love it because the reflection of the glass, you could see Charles and Eric approaching him. They also, like, and when they meet Angel at a strip club, and, they get her to reveal that her mutant powers, well, they show her that they're mutants, and she reveals what she is too, what kind of mutant she is. And they also meet up with a taxi driver, Darwin, played by Eddie Guthagi. I don't think I'm saying his last name right. He plays Darwin, and his mutant power, he's like a fish or something like that. Like, he has gills, and he has, like, armor, body armor, and so on. It's kind of ironic, because there's another fish that's named Darwin. Amazing World of Gumball, anybody? And also, a really good scene in the film. We get a cameo from Hugh Jackman as Logan/Wolverine. They find him at a bar, and, they introduce themselves to Logan. I'm Charles, I'm Eric, and the next thing he says, go F yourselves. Yeah, well, that's something usually that I guess, yeah, Logan would say, like, he's not interested, whatever they're going to say to him or anything like that, he wants no part of it, and they just leave. And that was a nice cameo, from Hugh Jackman. I remember when I saw this in theaters, fun fact, when me and my family, we saw this in theaters, like, yeah, like, I remember my dad just, like, laughed when he saw Hugh Jackman, like, appear, and then when he said the F-bomb, I turned to my dad and I said, "Is that a bad word?" And the next thing he said was, "That's the mother of all bad words." It's true. Because at first I thought he said, "Don't F yourselves." Like, I thought he used the word "don't" instead of "go." But no, he says, "Go F yourselves." Oh, Hugh Jackman and him as Logan. So, anyways. Yeah, and that's another thing, too. At least one F-bomb can be in a PG-13 rated film. I should know. You guys should know, too. Only one F-bomb can be in a PG-13 film, but if there's a lot more, boom, it gets an R rating. Anyways, so of course all the mutants are gathered, and of course, because of that, because some of them being teenagers, and they're just messing around, and they're showing off their powers, and of course, Charles and Moira, they're not impressed. I'm not sure about Eric, but I guess he didn't have that much to say, but, and they even came up with their own names, and they came up names for Charles and Eric, Professor X and Magneto. And so, because, at one point Charles and Eric, they go on a mission to, like, track down Emma Frost. She is brought into custody, and even into the CIA. And, yeah, and also, like, at one point, like, Eric, like, some moments between Eric and, not Eric, I mean Hank. Moments between Hank and Mystique/Raven, very cute and such. Even when they first met, like, it was love at first sight, And also, another montage where Charles is teaching them how to use their powers. And this is after, like, say, Sebastian and the evil mutants, they broke in, they killed most of the CIA agents, and especially the one that brought them in the first place, that played by Oliver Platt, him. They all get killed, and unfortunately, like, one of them does join Sebastian, and that being Angel. So Darwin pretends to join them, but was really gonna try to kill Sebastian. But, Sebastian, he's a mutant too, and he kills him too, cold-blooded, just like, bring him to a crisp and so on. Jeez. Very cruel, I should say. So, okay, after that, because, a little bit later, that's, Charles does teach them how to use their powers. But also, like, Sebastian is also trying to start another war. Like, he's trying to start World War III. And, of course, Charles and the rest of the mutants, they want to stop from that happening. And, even, like, say, Hank, he managed to make a cure or just something to eject, like, so, like, he wants him and Raven to be normal, and that was kind of harsh for Hank to say when at one point during their conversation, Raven, like, turned into her normal self, blue skin and everything, and, like, Hank was saying, that, she looks more beautiful without her blue skin and, looks like a normal person, Jennifer Lawrence without the makeup. You get my point. And it's like, dang, Hank, like, that's harsh. Like, Raven still looks beautiful even with her normal look. It's true. So, and so, well, at one point, like, Hank does use the stuff on him. It seems like it worked, like, his feet are normal, but then they just start to, like, go back to the way they were, but it keeps getting worse. He starts to turn blue in his fur, and, that's when he becomes Beast. And one moment where Eric, like, is convincing Mystique that she doesn't have to hide anymore. Not to mention we do get an appearance of the original, the first Raven actress. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, she makes an appearance. Just a very quick appearance, but hey, that was okay. So, she just appeared as her normal self, just like how she did in X-Men Last Stand. So that was no problem. And also, they find out that Hank is missing, and he had been busy. Like, he made suits for them, yellow suits. And that's when, like, they're at the Air Force base, with the X-Men jet. Really cool jet, of course. And, yeah, and that's when they see Hank now as Beast. I'll be honest, I'm not saying I hated it, but I'm not a fan of how he looked in X-Men First Class. I'm not a fan of how the look of Beast is in this film, because when X-Men Days of Future Past happened, he looked much better, and especially because, like, making him close to the makeup of how Kelsey Grammer looked in Last Stand. You get my point. That looked much better, and until I review Days of Future Past. So anyways, like, they go after Sebastian and the evil mutants in the submarine while, like, is it the Russians? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Russians. Well, again, this was during the Cold War, so, so the army and the Russians, like, almost about to go at it each other, but of course, the X-Men coming in and stopping them, and even say, and to speed things up, because this was a really cool moment for Eric, like, really, like, becoming very powerful to lift the submarine out of the ocean and just tossing it and, like, onto an island. That was really cool. And of course, Eric going after Sebastian once and for all. And, that's when Eric, then turns to the dark side. And he now has the helmet that Sebastian wore. And basically, because, even, like, Charles established this to him, and it's true, killing Sebastian wouldn't make him feel better and no peace or anything like that. And no, it just makes it more worse for Eric. And him wearing the helmet of the man who murdered his mother? Jeez, like, and it's very cruel because, when Charles, like, has control of Sebastian, keeping him frozen because he was trying to reach for the helmet, and he takes a quarter and, like, slowly, like, it comes to Sebastian's head and, like, going through his head. God, that was brutal, and dark. And that was, like, that was a callback to, when Eric was a child, when, Sebastian did the same thing, like, Sebastian counting to 3, if Eric, and Eric trying to move the quarter. So, and that's when, Eric becomes full-time evil mutant. And, even when, say, Eric, unfortunately, Moira cannot reach to the CIA, the army, that, to call off the attack. Like, they're about, like, the army and the Russians are about to launch missiles, but, they can't stop them, and it's too late. But that's when Eric, he grabs the missiles and he tosses it to them, like they're about to destroy the ships. And, Charles trying to stop Eric, even say when Moira pulls a gun at Eric and causes one of the bullets to hit Charles's back. And that's when Charles' legs are paralyzed. Yep, that's how it happened. And, Mystique joining Eric. The missiles, they don't destroy the ships. All is good. And, the mutants that once served with Sebastian now are with Magneto, and, Mystique, she joins in, and Charles, he can't feel his legs anymore, and thus, X-Men has just begun, and even at one point, Charles, he wipes Moira's mind, so she wouldn't give anything out to the CIA, and one last scene where, Magneto breaks out Emma Frost, and, the last lines that Emma and Eric give, Eric, if I'm correct, however she said it, and Eric getting the last line, "I prefer Magneto," and boom, that's how the movie ends. Awesome. He took what Raven, said, that, a name that her and the other mutants came up with, Magneto. So he took it. So that's his official, mutant name that we all know. So, and love. So that's an amazing name, Magneto. You get my point. Oh, man, I gotta say, X-Men First Class, this was really good, and, Marvel and Fox, they really took their chance. They took their chance, especially after the last one, Wolverine X-Men Origins, and hey, look how it turned out. Amazing. And it wouldn't take that long until, there would be more X-Men films on the way, especially Wolverine would be back, which I'll get to that soon. So, yeah. And how do I rate First Class? Well, obviously, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. It's fantastic, and it's a really good X-Men film. And what about you guys? Have you ever seen X-Men First Class? What did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review a like as always. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of X-Men First Class. More reviews coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And stay tuned later this week, because, once again, reviewing another Marvel film, and this time, jumping back to the MCU. It's the return of Ant-Man. But this time, it's not just Ant-Man. Along with him, it's the Wasp. Stay tuned for that. Take care, and until the Wolverine, take care, and peace out. X-Men, unite!